let's start with the big one. Let's start with Aaron Murray, the game, Ohio State and Michigan. And it feels more than any other situation I can ever remember, because of the top-heavy nature of the Big Ten. This is truly what the entire season has been building towards. Like, the Big Ten maybe has some fun stuff going on the interim, like Iowa winning the West while hitting unders and being awful is cool, and Nebraska being so close to being bowl eligible, just like continuing to barely fall short is somewhat interesting. Could Penn State join the big boys? Was a talk we kind of liked. I thought about Talia Tagovailoa probably like 3 times this season, just like thought about him for a second. But everything's been leading up to this moment right here. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I can find a great parallel for. I mean, this is truly an all-in moment for both schools.
Do you think this game loses luster next year when they're probably going to have to rematch right afterwards in the Big Ten championship game because there's no divisions? Like, is this the last big moment in this rivalry game, or will it always feel this big? What do you think?
God, I'm so distracted. I look like a fucking corpse. I'm so pale. Potentially. I mean, okay, look, yes. If they were to play and rematch a week later, absolutely. Yeah. It sucks for the winner. It's great for the loser. It sucks if the winner of the first game loses the second game, all that stuff. I understand all that. Do you think it's just going to be automatic every year?
No. I don't think
joining the fight.
No. But they will still most likely, maybe Oregon's getting into the situation where they're recruiting at a high level with Dan Lanning, and he's going to put together a good roster. But they will still probably be the favorites to be the final 2 teams when it's all said and done.
I mean, I
wonder if you move the game too, like move it to middle of the season where it's not like, because more times than not, it's going to be those 2 in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, you're not having to play back-to-back weeks. Washington, USC inviting chaos in there, like hopefully with better money, other teams starting to catch up. Like maybe Penn State finally does break through. What if Penn State gets like a good offensive coordinator, James Franklin actually lets him go? And that's not to say any of this was the
Ohio
OC's
State, Michigan will
fault.
still have the 2 of the best rosters in college football. They will still have it. It's not going to happen every year. Like, I'm not trying to say it's going to happen for the
Michigan's
next 10
not
years.
an overwhelmingly good roster though. They're very good. I mean, they're in the elite club. But they're not
if they lose hardball, you may lose a lot of that energy of which they've been able to build for the past 3 years. So maybe not. I'm just saying, like, just in case, because they will still be 2 of the powerhouses in that conference. Do you move the game to earlier in the season to protect a back-to-back game?
Or Goat Dog says Oregon pulling both these old farts under. Yeah, I mean, look, we're gonna talk Oregon today, Aaron Murray. It's fucking prove it time for the Oregon Ducks. Yeah. We'll get there when we get there, though. Let's talk about the game itself. Yep. Saturday, 11 a.m. Probably the second most interesting game taking place at 11-2 LSU A&M. There's so many, like I said, the dynamics of this game, beyond just the fact that it's been this incredible build up to this moment. It's also one of the most complicated games when it comes to kind of narrative dynamics and trying to figure it out and trying to think about what I really think is going to happen. And this is where I think I get kind of fascinated, Aaron. If we resort to the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. It should not be hard to figure out who's going to win this game. Michigan beat Ohio State badly in bad weather in Ann Arbor 2 years ago. They beat him in perfect weather last year in Columbus. Now you have a worse Ohio State team and a better Michigan team. And so obviously Michigan wins, right? But
okay, sorry.
You're going to tell me. You're going to tell me.
Finish your point. Finish your point.
No. Because I got a little bit of runway left, and I want to hear. I've been looking for something to make me laugh on this pre-Thanksgiving day. Tell me that last year's Ohio State with C.J. Stroud is better than Kyle McCord's Ohio State. Can you tell me? Can you say it? So
it's a better defense. It's a better defense.
That's not what I fucking said. You've had a significant downgrade at the most important position in all of football.
100% agree.
Stroud had Ohio State on the edge of beating Georgia.
But I am 100%. There's a massive downgrade, but you didn't have Henderson last year. Marvin Harrison's a year older. Cade Stover's balling out. You got Ibuka. You have the pieces.
I didn't say it was a bad team. I don't think it's as good of a team as last year.
I think the defensive improvements maybe kind of keeps it like what you lost the quarterback spot, how much better the defense has gotten may kind of equal things out to say, hey, you have a chance to at least slow down Michigan's offense a little bit more this year than in years past.
Okay, then let's say this. Let's go back to our KISS method.
Okay.
Michigan won the last 2 years in both venues in wildly different weather.
Yep.
And now you have an equivalent Ohio State team and an even better Michigan team. Okay, so it should be simple that Michigan's going to win this game. But this is why I say it's fascinating, because you have the no Harbaugh factor, right? Like, as we discussed, not having your general out there has a way of affecting you, even if it's not like he's not calling plays or anything. It matters. There's no sign stealing. And I know some of you will tell me that's not a big deal, but like other very smart football people will tell you it is a big deal. And as we kind of talk about, that's the insidious part about a drama like this, is that it kind of chews away at the success.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know, how did this success come about? And I would also say, or I would say though, if I was trying to argue for Ohio State this game, it is the Marvin Harrison Jr. factor. There is not another player like him on the field. Like, that was one of the most disappointing parts of Michigan Penn State, was seeing Roman Wilson just completely disappear. Like, when I finally tuned into Michigan this year, I expected him to feel more dangerous, more dynamic, and they did not. And maybe they don't have to, the same way they didn't have to against Penn State. But like, that's what I would be hanging my hat on if I was Ohio State, is that I do have the most dangerous weapon among both teams.
Well, I think they have the two most dangerous weapons on both teams, and on both. Like, so you not only have him, but you do have a healthy Travion, who, you look at his stats the past 5 games, 4 of those have been over 100 yards. He's been one of the most dynamic running backs the last 5 weeks.
But you're not taking him over Blake over Corbin Edwards, right?
I would say he's been more dynamic this year than they have. Like, the Michigan running game has not been the same, and I think, like, we were praising this offensive line for Michigan to start the season of, like, oh man, maybe they're even better than they were the past 2 years, and watch out, they're going to win the Joe. I'm gonna say it right, Joe Moorhead Award. Joe Moore Award.
No, Joe Moore, not Joe Moore. Joe Moorhead is the failed Mississippi State head coach.
Yeah, they want him back at Penn State now. Just the Joe Moore Award. They may win it for a 3rd straight year. But then the more you look at him, and they've been banged up a little bit on the front line for Michigan, they've not had a ton of success this year. They've not been great in pass protection. You could see that versus Penn State. And I know Ohio State maybe doesn't have the pass rushers that Penn State does, but I just think the offensive line has underachieved a little bit, and they've set the bar really high. So, like, it's a little bit down from where it's been the past 2 years, where it's not like Ohio State is a bunch of just movers on the front line either for their offensive line. But I just think the way that I've seen Travion play when healthy, he's one of the most dynamic running backs in the country. So I think that gap is closed than maybe it has for the past 2 years, where I don't think it's like, oh my God, you got these 2 incredible running backs for Michigan. Ohio State really doesn't have a running game at all. They have to rely on the passing game. I think this Ohio State offense is more balanced this season than they were last year.
And you think they're going to run on the Michigan defense?
I think they have a better chance of doing it than they did last year, which should hopefully give Marvin Harrison some more one-on-one opportunities, where you just can't play too high and just say, hey, we're going to put a safety over top to kind of shadow Marvin. Like, no, like, Ohio State is significantly more capable of running the football this year. And I've been torn, man, because I've been, you know me, I've talked about how good I think Michigan is this entire season.
Yeah,
and I don't want the last
like
2
it's
weeks
coming a bit out of nowhere. You're advocating pretty hard here for an Ohio State play in Ann Arbor.
I know.
Nonetheless.
I went back and watched the last 2 games from Michigan, and you start seeing some of the holes. And
they don't look great.
They've not looked good. And I think it's a very easy schedule, so they looked dominant. They started playing a little bit better competition, and you started to see some chinks in the armor, especially on offense. You started to see
and
some issues in the passing game.
And there is the old idea that we kind of discussed way earlier in the season. Michigan's not really battle tested. Like, you can say maybe Penn State was, but I don't know how much of a battle it is if you win a game where you have to throw 8 passes in the second half.
Who's the better roster? Who's the better roster?
Well, Ohio State. Yeah, but they've been that the last 2 years.
I know,
You got their ass kicked both years.
but
That's
I'm going.
therein lies the rub, though. I mean, that
I know
is the issue, right?
it is.
And remember how all of last year was the opposite, where we were like Ohio State's gonna even though Michigan was the defending Big Ten champs and they had beat him last, we were like, there's just no way. Like Ohio State's gonna win, Ohio State's gonna win, Ohio State's gonna win. And then Michigan pretty emphatically said, fuck you, let's make it 2 in a row. And so now we're finally giving ourselves over to Michigan, and you're kind of naturally rubber banding back to Ohio State. I mean, it's maybe not a bad play.
I'm just what Jim Knowles has been able to do in 2 seasons and where this defense is playing right now. I'm just trying to think in my mind where I think Michigan can score. Where is Michigan's advantage on offense? When you look at Ohio State's defense and what they've been able to do from the number 1 passing defense in that conference to how good they've been stopping the run, at least I can look. At least I can look at Ohio State,
right?
Yeah, and JJ's coming off 2 of his worst games of the season. So like that to me, like if they would have been as dominant the past 2 weeks, then I would feel better about this. But now that I'm seeing some issues, I kind of look at it and say, Ohio State's playing some of the best defensive football in the country right now. How does Michigan consistently move the ball up and down the field against them if they're not creating chunk plays in the run game? Where I look at Ohio State and I was like, at least I know you got 2 of the best weapons in America, or at least one of them at receiver, one at running back, that can create explosive plays. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. can take over games. I don't know what Michigan right now can take over a football game like Ohio State can take over a football game from their side.
They haven't needed playmakers the last couple of years, though. So we'll see. So okay, you're kind of now I'm starting to see the entire picture here. So not only could the defensive improvement maybe make up for having to downgrade a quarterback, but more specifically, that defensive improvement could put this in Ohio State. Like last year, Ohio State was forced to try to sell out to stop the run, which opened up these big plays.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that they won't have to do that potentially this year to stop the run?
No, not as much. No. I don't think so. And maybe I'm just looking too deep in the JJ after what I've seen from the past 2 weeks, but he's banged up. He just does not look. I think it's a lower body injury right now. He doesn't look like the same quarterback. He doesn't. And the offense line does not look like the same offense line we saw at the beginning of the season.
Okay. I mean, Michigan favorite.
And I do think there's a legit coaching factor in this one.
Yeah.
I truly think Ryan Day has his team playing with the mentality of we are tough SOBs, and they're acting like that. And they've done it all season long. Like they've been the aggressors. Like I've never seen Ohio State in my entire life plays as aggressive on both sides of the football as they've done this year. And that's what you need in this game. That's what you need.
Ryan Day's a bitch if he doesn't call out Lou Holtz immediately after the game. If Ohio State wins,
he's gonna call out Jim for cheating. And like the reason why I lost the past 2 years is because I've been going against a team that's cheating. You take that away and look what happens.
Well, that's the best part about all of this, right? Is that for each school. Okay, so Michigan's had a magical 2 years for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose this game, all of it is shattered.
Yeah.
All of it was because of cheating. Harbaugh probably leaves and goes to the NFL because he's going to get in trouble. And all of a sudden, Michigan, which was finally, resurgent, maybe even going to threaten for national championships, all of a sudden, they're back at ground zero. For Ohio State, well, a win would obviously erase all the pain of the last 2 years. You do it in Ann Arbor, which would add a bit, and then you win you're on to the Big Ten championship, playoff, et cetera, et cetera. But if Ohio State loses, well, and all of a sudden, it's not just because of the sign stealing. And you're going to tell me that Ryan Day, our guy, can't even beat Michigan without Jim Harbaugh with this great defense? So, it's not just actual playoff hopes and championships that are on the line. There's a metric shit ton of narrative floating in the air as well. And that's why this game's so hype. It's going to be awesome.
Joe Klatt has had a hard on all week getting ready for this game. And I would too if I was calling it. The amount of storylines that you can hit for 4 quarters, on top of that, 2 of the best teams in college football. So it's going to be an entertaining game where you don't even really need the storylines. You can just kind of dip in and dip out whenever you want. I mean, this is a absolute dream for a broadcaster to be able to jump on this call. I mean, it is.
Luck has to nailed it.
Yeah.
It's delicious. I mean, really,
Yeah.
guys, the next 4 days are fucking delicious.
Mm.
All we're gonna be doing is eating awesome food and watching awesome college football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then NFL interspersed everywhere within
Mm.
as well. Our cup overfloweth. Let us give thanks
Who wins?
for the time.
Who wins?
Again, I'm just gonna go back to the KISS method. I'm gonna say Michigan, although you have me like, if I was going to place a bet this second, I would bet Ohio State plus 3.5 after everything you just said. You laid out a convincing argument, Aaron Murray.
Mm.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look
Thank
at
you.
you.
I'm going Ohio State. I just think they're the better roster.
Okay.
I think they're the better
Hell
roster.
yes.
They got the more elite playmakers, and they're playing better right now. They're playing
Damn.
like today.
Oh,
They are playing significantly better.
I don't think I said this, but this is the last thing too. One thing we always talk about is Michigan going to be battle tested, right? And like I said, they didn't
Mhm.
really get that test against Penn State. Ohio State's been in a couple fucking dog fights, and that
Mhm.
makes you stronger, right? So Michigan still kind of has yet to taste blood, but we will see.